Hey guys, it's Kevin here again, and I've got the Nintendo Wii U and the Nintendo Switch. Now, a few days ago I did this video, a look at Nintendo's handheld console. And the reason I did that is because I got my hands on this. This is my friend's Nintendo Switch, and I got it 2 years after it was launched. This came out in 2017, and only in 2019 I'm really spending some time with it. Previously, I have played it at a few different friends' houses, just picked it up and went, oh, that's really cool. But this is the first time I've really sat down with some games. I've really sat and put some time into it and got a feel for what this console is all about. Now, in that video, I did make some comparisons between the Nintendo Switch and the Nintendo Wii U. This came out 5 years earlier in 2012. But what I thought I would do in this video is just kind of take another step back again and just look at both of these consoles and just talk about some of the pros and the cons. I think there's a lot of people out there who have bought the Switch and don't appreciate how good the Nintendo Wii U was. This was one of the things that kind of annoyed me about the Wii U. I loved the console. I thought it was a really good console despite, its kind of hardware limitations. I thought it was a really fun console, and like the Wii, it kind of made me play games with my friends more. We were playing lots of kind of party games, 4-player games and all that. It was a fantastic console. So I want to just kind of do some comparisons between the two, just kind of talk about some differences that I've noticed. And maybe some of you guys might actually want to go out and buy a Wii U after watching this. Certainly after playing the Nintendo Switch, I'm thinking about setting this down in my living room again because I forgot how much fun this really is. Now, if I jump back over to my browser, I've got the Nintendo Wii U Wikipedia page here. I don't want to bore you too much with specs, but if you scroll down the side here, you can see the CPU, 1.24 gigahertz tri-core IBM PowerPC Espresso CPU, 2 gigabyte of DDR3 RAM, 8 gigabyte of internal storage. You can get 32 gigabytes. I think mine's is the 8 gigabyte if I remember right. And you can also expand storage with an SD card, not micro SD, a full SD card. And you can see the graphics card there as well, 550 megahertz AMD Radeon base Latte. And you've got the Nintendo Switch there. Down the side, you can see what we've got here. We've got the quad-core Cortex A57 plus the quad-core Cortex A53, 4 gigabytes of LPDDR4 RAM. It's got 32 gigabytes of storage and micro SD card storage up to 2 terabyte. So, and the graphics card there, NVIDIA GM208. Now, I'll let you guys that are, loving specs to, you can look at those Wikipedia pages. I was going to do a table and a kind of comparison between these two as far as specs and that goes, but I found a really kind of crude comparison. So I apologize for this. It's really crude. It's on a website with lots of advertisements, but it might kind of illustrate some of the kind of main differences between these two consoles. So this is the kind of comparison that I found. There's lots of them out there, but this is the one I found, and it saves me having to do a table for you guys. So, standalone portable, yes, the Nintendo Switch is, and this is something I talked about the other day. One of the big selling points of the Switch is that it is a standalone console. You can play it without having the main console hooked up to the wall. TV console, yes, you can use this to display games on your TV. Dimensions, so you can see right there, the overall device is smaller. The Nintendo Switch is a lot thinner. 23 millimeters down to 14 millimeters, 135 down to 102. It just is a smaller, more portable, sleeker device. It's also lighter, 491 grams down to 297. Glossy plastic down to matte plastic. Yeah, and you should be able to see that here as well. If you look at it here, this is very, very shiny. It's just shiny white plastic. It gets dirty quite easily, but if you get a wipe or something like that, which I was doing with the main console, it gets clean quite quickly. So yeah, you can tell the difference there as well between the two of them. Display size, interestingly, they both have the same size of screen, but the resolution is very different. On the Switch, you've got a 720 setup, 1280 by 720 pixels. That's 237 pixels per inch. But on the Wii U, it's 854 by 480. That's 158 pixels per inch. And when you see games running, in fact, even when you don't see games running, even just looking at it here, you can see that yeah, this screen is just so much better. It's more crisp. It just looks nicer. Now, of course, if these are actually hooked up to a television and you're playing the game through the television, then the difference isn't as big as you would think. Certainly not in games that are on both systems, such as Mario Kart. But the actual resolution of, the Wii U main controller and the Switch controller, yeah, the Switch looks so much better, which makes sense. It's 5 years newer. Maximum TV resolution 1080p. The Switch can do up to 1080p 60 frames per second, but it is important to note that certain games can't do 1080p. For example, if we can find an example here, where's Zelda? So Zelda is a good example of this, right? On Zelda, I believe it can do up to 900p on the Switch. On the Wii U, it was 720p. But if you look at, comparison videos between these two, between the Zelda versions of them, I don't have Zelda for the Switch yet. There's certain parts of it where it drops, it actually drops from 900 or 720p depending on what is being played. But that was one of the main differences. This was 720p when you played this on your television, obviously not 720p here. But when you played it on this, it was 900p. And again, there's other games out there, other examples of that. Touchscreen, yes, but you have to remember that the touchscreen on this is so much better. This touchscreen it's just not as responsive. It just isn't. And you can see it's a little bit of a fingerprint magnet as well for different things as well. But yes, they are both touchscreen. The Wii U had a stylus. It did have a stylus. The stylus was actually really good. I actually used this a lot. Certainly when you're typing in your name for different games and all that, I always pulled out the stylus. Entering Wi-Fi information, different things like this. This was very useful. And as someone who had the Wii U and still has a Wii U, as someone who had the Wii U, I think this is something that should have been kept in the Switch. It's useful. It is useful, guys. Maybe they think it's obsolete, but I always thought it was quite useful to have. Detachable controls, no, of course not. That's all about the Switch. Internal storage, yes, you can get a version, the deluxe version, 32 gigabytes. Expandable storage, we've talked about that, micro SD and SD for the Wii U. Cartridges for the Switch, SD cartridges and discs for the Wii U. And then, yeah. So this is another part, backwards compatibility. The Wii U can actually play Wii games, and that's fantastic. There's thousands of Wii games out there, and a lot of them are classics. So by buying a Wii U, and the fact that you can use like controllers like that, you have access to not only the Wii U games catalog, but the older Wii games catalog. And there's a lot of classic games out there. Most of the Wii games that I've got are like classics, like A+, 90% kind of ratings. So that's another benefit of the Wii U. It is backwards compatible with the Wii, fully compatible, no problems there. And I love seeing that in games consoles. I love seeing game systems that allow you to play older games. I think that's fantastic. Virtual console, yes. I don't want to delve into that too deep because I didn't really spend a lot of money on the Virtual Console. I always thought it was too expensive. Always preferred to buy the original games. And there's the battery life, and you can see there that the Wii U with 1500 milliamps, despite the fact the actual battery size is so much smaller, the actual battery life is very similar. Of course, the other one's linked up, the Wii U is linked up to the wall, etc. But obviously this requires more battery because it's powering that beautiful 720p display. Parental display, starting price, discontinued. Right, okay. So back to here. So now you should have a kind of overall idea as to the difference between these as, from a hardware point of view. That's what I'm trying to say, from a hardware point of view. So from a hardware point of view, this is 5 years older, but it can play Wii games. Now, that article was kind of obvious, saying, well, this has got detachable controllers, and it does, and I think it is one of the coolest things about the Switch, and it is why the Switch is called the Switch, because it is detachable. You can put it like this, and you and your friend can play Mario Kart or Mario Party or anything like that. This is a very, very good idea, in my opinion. I think it is. And you can also put this to the controller, if I get that, which is here. And that's, you know, that's another cool thing that you can do with this. You can put it into the controller grip like so, and then you have a controller like that. So it's quite a cool idea. It's quite a versatile little system, and you're left with effectively a little cool tablet. So I don't want to, you know, delve into too much detail as far as, you know, what's on this, because I did talk about that the other day, but I'll put these controllers back on just so you can see what it's like. Now, I'm really enjoying the Switch. I think it's a great little system. I'm looking forward to getting one myself because I'm waiting for the new one with the battery. Actually playing the game systems, though, actually playing with these, you know, if you just, let's forget about the fact that there's a Wii U console over there. Actually playing with it, this is heavier, this is bulkier. I would argue it's more comfortable in the hand though. I think just because of the size of it, it's just a little bit more comfortable. But maybe that is down to the fact that I've played more games on this, so maybe just used to it a little bit more. But yeah, this was very comfortable in the hand. This one, it's just a little bit smaller. I think you can buy additional accessories to add, like a better grip at the back, so that is something that can maybe be a little bit improved. But even just looking at the buttons there, if you look at the buttons, you can see that the buttons here are so much bigger. Everything is just bigger on this one. It's bigger. It's bigger, it's heavier, but I do think it is more comfortable in the hand. Just like where your fingers go when you're playing it. But maybe I will get used to that with the Switch. Now, one thing I haven't pointed out yet is this has got a light sensor on it, but the Wii U had a camera. Now, it wasn't the best camera in the world, but it was actually quite a lot of fun. So if I can find some examples for games like this on the Wii U and on, no, I don't think the Wii U used that. For games like this on the Wii U, there was a lot of games like Mario Chase, whatever you call it, in Nintendo Land. So a lot of games like that where the person playing it would show themselves to everyone else, or, you know, and there's a lot of different kind of fun party games like that where the camera was used to show the person playing on the Wii U. So the idea is that you've got one person on the Wii U playing and everyone can see them on the camera, and then you've got 4 other people using Wii controllers or Wii U controllers. And I thought that was a great feature. It was one of the things, you know, alongside the stylus, as I said, I think this should have been kept, and I also think the camera should have been kept as well. I was a little bit surprised that it wasn't kept. I think that it would be quite a cool little feature. And you know, this is something that Nintendo has done on a few of their consoles. This is a 3DS. This has got a camera as well. So I was a little bit surprised that the Switch doesn't have that. I think that most of the time it's a pointless accessory. I do agree with that most of the time it's not needed. But there are many games that can utilize a camera like that, and it saves you having to buy an accessory. So I don't see why they didn't just put one in there. I think it would have been good. And, you know, there's a lot of games where you can create your own character and all that, and they could have maybe used your face from a photograph or something. I think that would have been a very cool feature, and it's something that I think they should have included. Maybe, you know, some of you guys might disagree, but I know myself from playing some of these kind of party games with friends that the camera, you know, it made it a lot of fun. So, yeah, from that point of view, they've removed the camera, maybe because of a hardware limitation or something, or a size limitation, but I think that was something that they should have kept. Now, I know I'm jumping around a few different points here, but I want to, you know, just hearing the sound there, let's, as I said, state the obvious. We've already stated the obvious that this has got detachable controllers. Let's state another obvious. This requires this here to work. And you guys probably can't hear this because I'm using a dynamic mic, but if I bring this down, can you hear that? So that is using a traditional hard disk. It's not using a flash SSD or anything like that. So a little bit noisier than you would get on the Switch, unfortunately. And of course, if you want to play a game on this, you need to go and get the disc. You need to put it in that, and then you need to play it here. So there were times where I was playing Zelda on this, and because my living room is directly below my bedroom, I could have it there and I could turn it on from here, and because Zelda was already in the system, I could play Zelda up the stairs like this. Now, every now and then the signal would maybe go, but for the most part, you got about 10 feet or maybe 15 feet or something. It depends on your house and, you know, what's in the way. But you could just, you know, push power here, switch it on, start playing the game here, and yeah, you could play it here, and that was downstairs. But you did need that to be running, which means that if you wanted to put in a different game, you had to run down the stairs or run to the room where this was and then change the disc manually. You couldn't just switch games, you had to do it manually. Unless, of course, you'd bought the game through the Virtual Console. So that is one limitation of that. But what I would say is, because this was not the main console, you could have this on the television, you could have your game in the television, and many games, what they would do is they would use, let me see, I'll find an example here for you. Many games would actually use this as a second display. Now, I don't know if there's many games that use that for the Switch, but this is something that was utilised all the time in the Wii U, and it was very interesting. So, for example, if you're playing Zelda, this might show the map, or if you're playing another game, it might show something else. And, you know, this is an example of that. This was Zombie U, and when you were playing Zombie U, it would actually show you, you could play the full game there, but if you wanted to, you could instead use this to show like your options, what was in your bag, all your inventory. So there was a lot of really cool features like that utilised. I'm trying to find an example on the back of a screen, but I can't find any. There was a lot of games that did that, and that was a really cool feature. It's something you lose with the Switch, but it was something that I always thought was implemented very well in the Wii U. But of course, there's a lot of things implemented very well here. You've lost the camera, you've lost the stylus, you've lost the ability to have essentially an extra controller. But you've got the docking port. When you put it in here, this will connect to your television. I don't think I've even slotted in. There we go. This will connect to your television. The green light will go on, and you can play this on your television. You can take these controllers off, use it with the controller grip. It's a very, very sensible setup. I love the way it works, because what it means, if you're in the house, you're playing the game, your significant other or your kids or your parents come in, whatever it may be, you can take this off, they can change the channel, and you can continue playing on the Switch. Or you can just switch to tablet mode, take these controllers off. Very, very versatile, hence the name, the Nintendo Switch. It's a very good setup, and you've lost the camera, you've lost the stylus, but this is a much better setup than the Wii U. Let's not get mixed up here. Yes, I love the Wii U console, but I'm not nostalgic for this big spinning drive over here. I'm not nostalgic for that. This is a much more practical setup with the Switch. It's better having it all in one little system. It means you can play anywhere. You can take it anywhere. You're not tied to the wall. You can play this on a train, on a plane, anywhere. And the idea that if I've got a long 6 or 7 hour journey, it means that I can go and get like Zelda or Mario, and I can just blast away the hours by playing games. And to me, that is amazing. Now, I talked about this a little bit another video. I talked about games cases. I'll just kind of briefly talk about it again, just briefly. But I talked about this all day. Obviously, these cases are smaller. They're kind of more akin to the PSP Vita style cases. The reason being that you've got like a small DS card in there. I think they look really good. I think, from a collecting point of view, they look good. I think that they're quite stylish. The Wii U, games are falling out. The Wii U, because it had a traditional disc, bigger than the old GameCube ones. The Wii U was the same as the Wii, which makes sense because, same size of disc. So it's going to be the same size. But again, back to that benefit, you can play classic Wii games on the Wii U. That is fantastic. And I know a lot of people out there, they all want to have the latest and the greatest games. And a part of me likes that as well. I do like getting new games. I do like getting the latest games out there. But sometimes in the quest to buy the newest games, you do forget that there's a lot of classic games out there. Let me see. I think this is most of my collection. I don't know if there's any other games anywhere else. I'll just see if I can get all of this in the shot. Let's see. So you can see a selection of the games I've got for the Wii U. I'm doing this very, very badly, but you can see a selection I've got for the games for the Wii U and the Wii. The good thing about this, I've got some other games over here. The good thing about all of these games now is that when I was buying these of course were full price. Most of them were full price. I bought a few of them kind of in a bargain, but you know, games like Super Mario Bros. U, yeah, those were full price. Some of them I got for like £10-20, but most of them were kind of full price. Now in 2019, you can pick up so many classic Wii games and so many classic Wii U games at a very low price point, which means that in 2019, there is arguably a bigger reason to buy a Wii U and play the Wii U now than it was a few years ago. You can get some really fantastic games on this system, and you can buy the system for like under 100, and you can get a lot of classic games on it very, very cheap. So yeah, you know, we're not at the point yet where Wii U games are starting to go back up in price because they're rare. Maybe another 10-15 years for that. Right now you can pick up Wii U games a lot cheaper than they were just 2 or 3 years ago. So yeah, that is something to bear in mind. Now again, going back to controllers, the Wii U controller, my opinion on this might change in the future. It might. I'll just put that out there right now. Not, you know, I don't want anyone to say I'm a hypocrite if they watch a future video where I say this is better. But right now, maybe because I'm more accustomed to the Wii U, but I feel that this is more comfortable in the hand for playing for long periods of time, just because it's a little bit, you know, it's just more comfortable in the hand. It feels more comfortable. It is heavier, but it's not heavy to the point where it's uncomfortable. You know, it feels good in the hand. It just, everything just kind of sits in the right place. And it's not like I've got, you know, massive hands. I've just kind of got normal hands, and yeah, this feels a little bit too small sometimes. So in that regard, I would say that, you know, if you to compare playing Zelda on this compared to that over, you know, the space of an afternoon or something like that, I would probably put this as being the more comfortable experience. But of course, you're not getting the high resolution on this screen. Now, if you're playing on a television, it's a different story. But if you're just playing on the actual controller, you know, this high definition screen does look a lot better. Of course it does. Now, if you're playing on the television, you can buy controllers like this. You know, you get the Switch Pro controller and all that. This is the Wii U Pro controller. I thought this was a fantastic controller, but switching between this and like PlayStation 3 and 4 controllers, I always kind of get mixed up because this one's got the D-pad there and the thumbstick there, and this has got it reversed, and the buttons and thumbstick there are kind of reversed. And, you know, when I bought this, I was still playing the PlayStation 3, maybe even the 4 at that point. I was playing it a lot, so you're kind of switching these around, so it got a little bit strange at times. But when you get used to it, this is a fantastic controller. It's a lot of fun. And you can buy controllers like that for this. Unfortunately, for Nintendo, all controllers are annoyingly expensive. It was the case with the Wii U. Maybe it's a little bit better, but when I had the Wii U, all the controllers that I bought were very expensive. You could pick up old Wii accessories, like the old Mario Kart steering wheel. And what else did I buy? I've got a couple of nunchucks and different things like that as well. And this is the nunchuck, which you can attach to the Wii Mote, or the Wii Remote, whatever you want to call it. That was always a lot of fun as well. So you could pick up the Wii nunchuck and the kind of older Wii accessories quite cheap, but for the, you know, when I had the Wii U at the time, these accessories were very, very expensive. And it's the same case just now with the Switch. You can buy cheaper alternatives. You can buy third-party ones. This one, this is one from China. You can pick up fairly cheap, like $10 or something, and it's not as good as that. Clearly, that's like 5-6 times the price. But for the price, if you're just looking for a second controller from when friends around, things like this can save you a lot of money. What are these controllers like, though? Well, I think the Nintendo have always been really good with how they've taken risks with their controllers. Back in the Super Nintendo days, 6 buttons, great. They kind of changed different things. This is the Game Boy Micro, the Game Boy Advance SP, and I showed you as well the 3DS. All of these have their pros and cons, but generally speaking, I would say that Nintendo's controllers have always been quite good to use. What they've done is taken risks, but they always have to kind of make a sacrifice with different things. You know, with the Game Boy Micro, for example, it's fantastic, but you're not going to play this for 10 hours at a time. Your hands will get cramped. There's always sacrifices with things like this. You know, with this one, yeah, the 3DS was actually quite good. I can't I can't criticize that. Yeah, controller wise, I think for the actual system, this main controller of the Wii U is better than the Switch. But the interesting thing about the Switch is, when this came out, most people had a Wii U and they had a 3DS. This replaces both of them. This is the evolution of both of these. This is the child of the Wii U and the 3DS. That's kind of what it is, because the Nintendo always had, even from the late 80s, they had one main home console, and ever since the Game Boy, they had one portable handheld system. And that was how it always was, all the way up to 2017 until the Switch came out. And now we don't have the Wii U and the 3DS. You don't have like the GameCube and the Game Boy Advance. You have the Switch. And that is pretty fantastic. I think it's amazing now that you don't have to decide whether you spend your money on a handheld. You don't have to have two different games catalogs. You've got one system. You've got the Switch, and that's it. Now, granted, I know most people also have an Xbox One and a PS4, etc. But if you just think about it from a gaming point of view, if you're a Nintendo fan, previously you would buy the home console, then you would buy the handheld, and then you would buy games for both. You don't have to do that anymore. And that is why the Switch should be, if you've got the money, probably the one that you buy over the Wii U. You know, if money is no concern, buy the Switch. Of course you would buy the Switch. It's the newest one. It's up to date. Yes, it loses the camera and different things like that, but this is the future. This is the future. I think it's a fantastic little console. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what this can do over the future. You know, pick up some different games and getting to know the system more. Now, seeing as Mario Kart is in here, let's put it in and we'll do a quick comparison. I would have liked to have shown you Zelda as well. I can maybe do that afterwards just to show you Zelda on it, but it's good to do a comparison. I did this comparison the other day as well, but it's the one game I've got in both systems right now. So, another thing as well to note is I didn't have the volume on this other day. Here we go. Now, this demonstrates something as well, and I didn't start those at the exact same time there, but the other day I did, and the Switch is quicker. Now, I never thought the Wii U was slow to the point where it was going to annoy you, but even when I bought the Wii U, it was noticeably slower than the PS3 and things like that. You know, it was never a fast system. It was a lot slower. And so if I go back, right, so here, so they're loading up at the same time here. I'll just do AAA, starting at the exact same time. And this will demonstrate the difference in speed. And maybe maybe this isn't a hardware thing so much. Maybe they've just refined Mario Kart 8. This is a deluxe version, of course. Maybe they've just refined it a little bit to load things better. But I suspect hardware has got to do with this. You can see right away. And look how much quicker it's loading up. It's not a big thing, really. I mean, if you're sitting playing in the house, you're waiting another few seconds. When the actual game starts, though, it's more or less the same. You know, these will pretty much play identical. These will play identical when you're sitting and playing it on your television. Oh, no. Go. This is impossible to do. But there's how it works. So yeah, this is I can close that. I would say that generally speaking, this is one area where the Switch has been improved. The Wii U was a little bit sluggish, and even more so when you loaded up the Wii, because the way that this handles the Wii is that it essentially loads up the Wii as if you're playing the Wii, and it's got the old Wii screen. Everything is like you've got the Wii. All right, I better not do that, because it's going to... Basically, if it was on the main television screen, it would load up on a television, but I've only got the actual Wii U pad here. Yes, so what I'll quickly do, if I can show you, is show you Zelda. So I've put Zelda into the Wii U. Unfortunately, I don't have Breath of the Wild for the Switch. This is a game I'm actually going to buy. I love the game so much, I'm going to buy it for the Switch as well. The reason I want to show you this is, well, just because a lot of people forget, you can actually buy this game on the Wii U. This was originally designed to be for the Wii U. It was going to be one of the flagship games. Then they delayed it a year or two because of this. And at the time, I was very annoyed about that, because when I bought the Wii U, you know, the promise was that you were going to be playing, you know, you were going to be buying the Wii U for this Zelda game, and then they delayed it a year or two because they realised this wasn't doing well. Let's take a step back, let's develop it and make it the flagship for the Switch. Thankfully, it did still come out for the Wii U, probably just so that it didn't annoy everyone who had bought a Wii U. I'll load up here. And it is a fantastic game. As I said, you will get a slightly better resolution if you buy it here. The reason I'm going to buy it for the Switch is just so that I can play it on the move. I love the idea of playing this game on the train, on the plane, etc. But you can buy this for the Wii U as well. And I'll bring it up to the camera a little bit more. I'm not going to remember all the buttons, to be honest. There's the slash. There we go. I used to play this a lot on the couch, even without the television on. I would just play it on the pad. But again, the resolution on the Wii U pad here, it isn't fantastic. This looks so much better on your main television. If you play this on your television, it's going to look amazing. It's going to look amazing. You're going to get it 720p, and for a game like this, it's enough, I would say. I forgot all the buttons already. And again, if you are playing this on your television, this can be used for your inventory and just kind of navigating different things. It works really, really well. As far as this goes, as far as the Switch goes, there are so many great games on this that went on the Wii U. Now, there was games on this that I didn't buy. You know, I didn't buy Mario Maker, but Mario Maker 2 is on this now. And that is a game that I want to pick up. And there's a lot of other fantastic games coming out for it as well. As far as A-list games, there's probably about 5 or so that I want to buy right off the bat. I think kind of essential games. And again, I kind of touched upon this at the start of the video as well, but one of the things to note is, if you don't have any of these systems here, if you want the best, buy the Switch. If you want the system that's a home console and a handheld system, the one that replaces the Wii U and the 3DS, you buy the Switch. But if you just want to tap into the world of Nintendo, and if you don't care about having the latest or greatest games, don't discount the Wii U. You can buy it very cheap now. And I know it got slated at the time, but this is a very good system. There are, you know, dozens of really, really good high quality games on this. And although the Wii U catalogue, I guess from a console point of view, you know, historically, in comparison to other games consoles, it doesn't have the biggest catalogue. But the standard is pretty good. And you can go and buy other classic Wii games as well. A lot of these games are absolutely amazing. With the Wii games, though, I think most of them you have to play on your television. I can't confirm that, though. It's been a while since I played a Wii game on it. But there's multiple Zelda games on the Wii as well. This one isn't even open. So, yeah, that's what I would say about this. I mean, if you compare these, obviously, this is 5 years newer. The screen looks better. I love the Joy-Cons. I love the idea of it. And I know I kind of talked about this a lot in the other video. I know that this grip, when you've got it on, it's not as good as using a Wii U, like a dedicated controller. It's not as good as using that. I've picked up the fake one. It's not as good as using a dedicated controller. It's not even as good as using the pad, either of these pads, if you do it separately. But it's a nice little setup, and it shows you how versatile this system is. If you want that, if you want a handheld, buy this. Don't discount the Wii U. From a gaming point of view, I think that if you look back at a lot of consoles, sure, you can pick up the PS2 and things like that, and the games are really cheap. But I would say that more recently, the Wii U is one of the best consoles to pick up if you've not played it, as far as price and as far as the games that are on it, and the fact that you get access to so many Wii games. Don't discount it, guys. There's a lot of classic games on the Wii and the Wii U, and they can all be played through this system. One thing to note as well is that, remember we talked earlier on about this can have 8 gig or 32 gigabytes of storage. This this game here, Zelda, requires additional storage for, you know, updates and different things, and that's why I've been using a USB drive. This is one of the cheapest USB, like, you know, $5 kind of thing, one of the cheapest USB drives, and I've had it plugged into this for years now, and that's all you need to do. Just plug in a USB port, a USB drive, and you can get additional storage. Works very well. There's SD card slots as well, but hopefully, wait, I'll just show you this. For anyone who's never seen the Wii U console, this is it here. Hopefully this doesn't go crazy. So I'll just show you the back of this. So you can see there's two USB ports there, HDMI out. You've got your sensor bar, which is what you know, remember the old sensor bar so that it can see where you are for the Wii remotes. You've got your AV multi out, and you've got your AC adapter. At the front, of course, you've got power, you've got the disc slot, you've got the SD card slot, you've got a USB slot, and you've got another one there, which is obviously getting used. The hard drive doesn't spin really, really loud. Earlier on when I brought the microphone down to that, I just wanted to illustrate the difference in the fact that this doesn't have any sound from it. You know, when if you put the sound down on this and you put the sound down on the Wii U, if you're really close to the Wii U, you will hear the hard drive spinning. But that is the same for the PlayStation 4. It's the same for the Xbox One, the Xbox 360, PS3, etc. It's got a hard drive, that's why it's spinning. But you can replace them, I believe, with an SSD. But in that regard, this is so much quieter. And I think it's a fantastic little system. So I hope you've enjoyed this look at the Nintendo Switch. I know I've focused a lot on the Wii U. I think right now, if you don't have any of these systems, money's no object, buy the Nintendo Switch. It's a fantastic little console. It's quite versatile. You know, you can plug into the dock, charge it up, plug it into the dock and connect to your television. You can take these controllers off. If you've got kids, the two of them can play Mario Kart, one controller each, and you can sit like this and play yourself. What I would say, and I talked about this in my other video as well, is that controllers and accessories and games continue to be very expensive for the Switch. You're talking about, you know, like £50 for official controllers like that. If you want to buy one of the latest games, and here in the UK, £40. It's the same in the USA, like $40 and things like that. Older games, you'll pick up a little bit cheaper. But any Zelda game, any Mario game, any official Nintendo game, a lot of games are holding their value. Perhaps because people are buying the games and keeping them, and they don't want to sell them. But certainly, like games like Mario, etc., they are holding their value very, very well. And it was the same thing with the Wii, and it was the same thing with the Wii U. Official Nintendo games always seem to hold their value, whether it be a Mario Party game, a Mario Brothers game, a Zelda game. It doesn't matter. They all hold their value. They all hold their value. So that is something to bear in mind, because if you buy this for about $300 and you want to buy 5 or 6 games, you're probably going to go up to about the $500, $600 mark once you add in another controller and things like that. It can be a lot of money. Whereas you could buy something like this, get 10 games and another controller for like $200. You probably could. Granted, you will be buying one, you know, second hand or something. But overall, I've enjoyed spending some time with the Nintendo Switch. I'll get the volume up there. I've enjoyed spending time with the Nintendo Switch. I think overall it is a fantastic little system. I still need to get used to the controls. I do think that, you know, going from the Wii U to that, I find this a little bit more comfortable. But I love how portable this is. I love the screen. I love the way the docking system works. The speakers are good. The buttons, maybe a little bit on the small side. But the thumbsticks, yes, there's been a lot of problems with the thumbsticks, but so far this one seems to be okay. Yeah, overall, I'm really impressed with the Switch. I'm really looking forward to getting some more games for it. Some fantastic games on it, and I really do hope they start improving the Virtual Console. You know, kind of older retro games. I hope they introduced a lot of kind of SNES games and Nintendo 64 games. That I love that. Don't get me wrong, I'm sure there's some people out there that have hacked this already to do that, but officially there's not enough support for their older games. That is something I'd like to see, and it's something that the Wii U actually did quite well. Certainly at the end, they had a lot of classic Nintendo games on the system. Some of them were quite overpriced in my opinion, but they were there. If you wanted them, they were there. But I digress. Oh, the time's all wrong on that as well. So thanks for watching, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this look at the Switch and the older Nintendo Wii U. The Nintendo Switch, I would say, is the better console, without doubt. But as I've said many times in this video, don't forget about the Nintendo Wii U. If you don't have one already and you're just looking for a good gaming system, maybe to catch up with some games or to play some games with friends, this has got a lot of classic games on it. And in the future, in a year or two, maybe this will be put in the same category in that a lot of the games will come down in price. Right now, a lot of the games are still very expensive, and that is the price that you always have to pay for any games console. If you want the latest games, you have to pay for it. That is just how it works. Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for your continued support. I hope you've enjoyed this look at the Switch and the Wii U. And after this, I might actually put this back in my living room because, yeah, I forgot how good it is. Until next time, guys, take care.